Newly published documents have Washington buzzing.
We're talking about Bob Woodward's new book about the inner workings of the Trump White House, and also last week's anonymous op-ed in the New York Times. So much to talk about this morning. Let's get you to Wendy Patrick. Good morning, Wendy.
Good morning.
Nice to see you. Okay, let's get right to this. The op-ed from last week, and now the book is coming out today. What is going to come out of this book once everybody reads it today?
Well, I think everybody has already been exposed to some of the more salacious aspects of the book. And that was no doubt timed last week, because today everybody's focused on 9/11 and we're also focused on the hurricane. There are lots of other things to talk about, but what we can expect today is book sales through the roof. We have heard over 1 million copies. We've just heard this, all of the talk about it over the weekend. Remember, this weekend saw the #NotMe campaign going on within the White House as everybody distanced themselves from the anonymous author. We've talked about everything from lie detector tests to is it treason and everything in between. And I think that really has done nothing other than ensure that this book's going to sell really well, because it's been coupled, as you say, with the anonymous piece in the Times.
True.
Did you order the book? Are you going to read it?
No, I'm not going to order that book.
You're not going to
We don't need to. We already know what's in it.
But you don't think there's going to be anything else in it? I know that usually the things that are important, the things that people are going to want to hear have already been leaked. It's been out.
That's
but you don't think there's going to be anything else in there?
I don't. And if there is, I feel like we'll see it republished on the internet.
That's
and
true.
Nobody else is going to need to buy it.
we want to talk about the president said that the op-ed piece in the New York Times qualifies almost as treason. Does it?
No.
I mean, from a legal standpoint, is there anything in there that is treasonous at all?
No, treason is a very serious crime against the United States, and the president actually walked that back. What we saw, and actually I think it's a great example of the expansion of definitions that we have nowadays. We toss around terms. We all know that they're not meant literally, but what he meant is it's, treason in the sense of disloyalty. That's really what he meant, and he's basically come out and said exactly that. Definitely it is of concern, because this book coupled with the op-ed is a 1-2 punch for the administration. And I think the president made a really good point over the weekend when he said, I go to a high-level meeting talking about Russia, North Korea, China, and looking around the table wondering, who is it? Yeah. Who in this room is potentially going to take some of this information?
That's what some of the officials were saying. Well, it's not a matter of some of the things that are mentioned that don't matter, but if this person is in here undermining what this White House is trying to do in terms of national security.
That's where it would cross the line, Raul. That's where it would become actionable if it's a leaking of national security. Classified information, that's the distinction. There's nothing in the book.
But like petty things like somebody calling somebody an idiot and things like that, if it happened, that's not treason.
It's not classified information, and there's nothing in the op-ed or the book that so far qualifies as classified information.
There are some reports, Wendy, that the president is on somewhat of a hunt to find out who it is. I think Kellyanne Conway yesterday had mentioned that they've narrowed it down, that it's someone in national security, which obviously that's a very large pool of people to guess who it is. And there was some talk about bringing in a lie detector test. Can the president really do that? And should he do that, even if he could do it?
Two very good questions. The answers are yes and no. Yes, he can. And you see government agencies using lie detector tests for various things. They're not admissible in court, but that wouldn't be the purpose of using them. Should he? No. It would be devastating to morale, and that's actually, they're not going to be doing it. You heard Sarah Sanders say that yesterday. But it is very concerning that there is someone in the ranks that is willing to go to this extent. Now, my prediction is we're going to get a name. We're going to figure out who it is.
You think so?
I do. Here's why. People like this tell someone what they've done. So the New York Times knows who it is. The writer of the op-ed obviously knows who it is.
Yes.
Everyone shares, and we live in a day and age of social media where sharing is often easier to find digitally than verbally. We're going to figure out who this is.
You said it's concerning. Is it concerning enough to get the Department of Justice involved and Jeff Sessions involved in this?
Jeff Sessions and the Department of Justice is not HR. They're not human relations. They investigate crimes. They investigate criminal activity. This is not, and even the president came out and walked that back too and said, I'm not suggesting we open a criminal investigation. No, that's not the purview of Jeff Sessions' office. But this is something that might be investigated internally within the White House, because you don't want somebody like this in the ranks. And like I said, we're going to figure out who it is, and that person will be fired.
I thought about that was my next question, because I thought about this yesterday before we let you go, and I thought, if I were that person, and I did something like this, and now you know somebody's on the hunt to find out. Your palms are sweating. Like, I wonder what that feeling, I mean, in all seriousness, what that feeling would be like, knowing that people are on the lookout and they're
Well, you wrote the op-ed, so you probably figured if I get fired,
it's a matter of time.
It's a matter of time.
It's just a matter of time before that person gets fired and then makes all the talk show circuits all around the world talking about why they did it, and maybe gets picked up by some news outlet somewhere. I don't know.
It's the world we live in.
That's right.
Wendy Patrick, we thank you as always for joining us this morning.
Thank you.